Hey, everybody. We have been talking this month to influencers and impactors and people who are really standing up and using their platform to make a huge difference for others. So today with me is Sander Jennings. Sander is probably somebody you've seen before as the ever supportive brother on the I Am Jazz show. And he's also an ally influencer, a digital marketer. Sander, hey, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Daphne, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and just to talk all things allyship, spreading love, and kind of what's going on in society today.
Sander, the really cool thing about you is that you were born into this. You were born for this. I'm going to say this. You were born for this platform because you really have your entire life been able to see the evolution and see some of the things that's maybe are on the fringe for the rest of us. So you want to tell me a little bit what it was like growing up in Florida?
Yeah, so I would actually say I was in the interesting about it all is I feel like I've lived a pretty, just chill life. Growing up, I was really into sports. I had a supportive family, and we just did all a lot of the normal things that any everyday family would do. But when I was younger, we were on, a couple specials that talked about supporting my trans sister, Jazz Jennings. And, that was maybe a little bit abnormal. But at the end of the day, when kids bullied me, I didn't attribute it back to the fact that it was because I had trans sister. I was pretty naive to the fact that, maybe things weren't completely normal and that my life actually did have some things and experiences that a lot of people wouldn't understand. Then once we started our family's reality TV show back when I was in around 10th grade, that's when, I realized, okay, being on a reality TV show, that's a little bit different. That's a little bit unique. But to me, supporting my trans sister and supporting any of my siblings just came naturally. And I feel like a lot of people look at me and think, wow, that must have been hard. That must have been an abnormal experience. And the hardest part was seeing my sister struggle with how people treated her or how society looked at her, or seeing my parents take so much heat and backlash just for simply supporting their daughter. And so to me, yeah, there was a lot of experiences, but those experiences were all natural. And I lived a fairly, everyday chill Floridian life. But nowadays, obviously, we're living in crazier times and there's a lot going on. And so I'm learning to navigate that in different ways. And I recognize that a lot of people don't support, accept, or love everyone for who they are, or support these experiences, or even want to validate these experiences, even though they're my experiences or the experiences of the people I love. And it's just crazy times we're living in.
I think it's incredible. And I hope you give real thought to how courageous your parents really were in that situation. Not only to be in the experience, right? And to support their kids, all of their kids becoming who they are, but also to do it out in the open for everyone else to see and really be the people to make it easier for other people to come and have that experience as well. Did you know in 10th grade this was going to be so impactful that other people were going to be able to speak their truth because your family did?
I maybe didn't, but my parents did it. And the one big misconception a lot of people have about my family is that we wanted to be famous, that we wanted to, you know, be this pioneer for this community. And that was not the intention. When we started or were thinking about having a TV show, my parents put in so much time, energy, and thought because they knew what could possibly unfold by advocating for this. But first, it started with seeking out the medical professionals and support in order to support their daughter
Yeah.
and their son. And
Yeah.
they did that. They went through those steps and they realized this is not a phase. This is real. That every single medical professional they spoke to was making it clear that your daughter is transgender. So they said,
Wow.
okay, that's the first step. Let's support our daughter. Then when they needed to actually fight back to get Jazz to be able to use the correct bathroom, that's when the first time we actually got any public media attention. They wrote an article in the local newspaper that then got picked up nationally because they simply wanted to allow and help their daughter
Yes.
use the correct bathroom. And a lot of people don't know that part of the story. So after that, there was some opportunity for media attention. And in the first special with Barbara Walters, you'll notice all of our names were different, including my parents.
Mm.
So there was so much thoughtfulness into
Yes.
starting and being on just one special.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that continued well into, finally deciding, hey, let's do this as a reality TV show. And I think the big reason why, as a family, because this was not just my mom and dad decision. My dad does not like being on camera, just like my older
Yeah.
sister Corey does not like being on camera. Like, it was not a decision we made lightly, and it was a decision that came with a lot of communication. And eventually we realized, hey, we really are a cool family. Jazz is an
Yeah.
incredible individual.
Yeah.
And like, if the show wants us to show us being our normal everyday selves, then let's do it. And that then turned into 8 seasons on reality TV where we
Wow.
showcased our unconditional love and joy as a family. But that also came with, big life milestones like Jazz's gender confirmation surgery and a bunch of big milestones throughout the time, and throughout her journey, which was important for a lot of people to see. But still to this day, people watch I Am Jazz and they will take, one little nugget and say, that proves that trans is terrible, or Jazz had bad mental health or had some poor mental health during a time. And that proves that trans is a problem. Like, no, I had bad mental health. Like, I got
Yeah.
frustrated. Like, we all got some stuff.
What time of the
Like,
day is it? Yeah.
and they don't realize that if you watch in entirety or you see our family's journey and what we put on social media, you'll know, like, being trans is valid, Jazz's journey is valid, and it validates the entire, idea that you can know who you are before the age of 18.
Like, talk about don't fucking shrink. Like, I kind of want to hang out with your mom because I'm like, she had to make your mom and dad had to make some really big decisions and were very thoughtful, obviously, about how they unrolled this and how they were going to be pioneers, essentially, for something that many of us, the only exposure, the only awareness we had, depending on where we grew up or, what our reach was, is watching this television show, right? And watching it honestly unfold. I mean, I remember watching this and thinking, this is really brave. And I've never even conceived of this being a situation before. I didn't know anybody who was trans. And that's really brave. That's really says a lot that not only were they looking for opportunities for your sister to be able to use the bathroom, right? But also when it came to them saying, we want people to understand what it's like. We want people to experience your side of the box, right? One of the things that we come into a lot of times, and you and I are going to talk about this and dig into this, is that just because we're holding the cube in front of us and our perspective is blue doesn't mean that your perspective isn't orange when you look back at me, right? And all of our experiences, all of our views are valid, and they're not exclusive. So just because I'm not trans, that's not my experience, it doesn't mean that that's not a reality, or
Yeah.
if that's not. And I think and now I want to talk about your platform because you're really body affirming, right? When you are talking or you're on your platform or you're meeting with other people, this is really about body confirmation that you yourself as a man don't adhere to the way that things should be. And I think you used a really fun word that I like loved. It was like manosphere. Like basically like how men are supposed to be or how people are supposed to be interpreted as male or female.
Yeah, I mean, the manosphere is more about the male side of things and how, men should be when it comes to dating, how men should be when it comes to their own body, how men should be in the household as a
Hmm.
father. And so it kind of just lays the blueprint for like what a masculine man is.
Yes.
And I don't fit a lot of those boxes, although I do a lot of those things and I
Yes.
enjoy a lot of those things that those men do. The one difference is I have empathy. And a
Thank
lot
you,
of
by the way. Thank you,
men
by the way. Yes.
don't have that, especially if they're, believing in the manosphere. They don't have the same respect for women. They wouldn't actively go out and promote trans rights or women's rights. And a lot of them will say, well, if you promote trans rights, then you're anti-woman. And it's like,
Oh. Oh, okay.
so
They're mutually exclusive. Okay, yeah.
yeah. And so, we're seeing and we see in society that a lot of men's egos are very fragile the moment they see another man saying that they love their body when they don't look as good as them. And they're like, I'm better than this guy. And now I could go comment on his post and let him know, hey, you know what? You're actually not good enough. And what does that say? Does that say something about me or does that say something about them?
Well said.
They can
Well
love their
said.
body and I can love my body, even if our bodies look different. because for them, their goal might be to go into the gym every single day, work out extremely hard, eat perfectly healthy, never go out, enjoy a family meal, and enjoy some spinach and artichoke dip. For me, I
Yes.
like to go work out every single day or go play a sport so that I could interact with friends and family. I also enjoy eating out. I enjoy a beer with some
Yes.
friends on Saturday, and I would not give that up so that I could have a little bit tighter of a six pack or
Yeah.
a little bit stronger of
Love that.
muscle. But then once again, their combat would be, no, you're just weak and lazy." And that's
Oh,
what's being taught to a lot of young men today. And I try to provide a different perspective, one that includes having empathy for others, but also love for yourself.
yes. Yes. And I think that's the basis of it, right? Is that when you fully accept who you are, because this is your coming of age story too, right? You and I talked a little bit about college and about how you had to like make, and I think most men go through that, right? They go through this like sort of toxic masculinity, sort of, you know, am I a man? Am I not a man? And this sort of, I think you said you were in a fraternity, right? What better proving grounds to whether or not you are a man or you're not, right? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I was on the reality TV show and then I was also in a frat. And
Mm,
actively in the frat, I was trying to fit in. I wanted everyone to like me. I wanted to drink the beers. I wanted to hang out with the girls. I wanted to do all that stuff. And I did do all of that stuff, but I did it in my own way. And I had strong relationships. But I think the key thing that I did not do, especially when I was in the frat, is didn't feel comfortable actively being an ally or actively displaying my thoughts and opinions. I had all these thoughts and opinions. I believed in all of these things and wanting to stand up for more communities, but I cared more about what my frat brothers might look at me and think than sharing what I actually truly felt. And it took me a long time to kind of break through and realize, hey, my social media is not for my frat brothers. If they don't
mhm.
support or appreciate what I stand for, that's fine. If they don't support, appreciate what I stand for, and want to have a problem with it, then they probably aren't someone that I want to call my brother to begin with.
Was there a moment when you realized that? Or was it more of a over time you started to filter people out of your life?
Yeah, there was definitely a couple moments, but definitely a key moment where, I actively tried to make sure I was on a trip with certain people that I thought were, my frat brothers. And I thought I didn't want to miss out. I had that FOMO of like, oh, not being on this trip with the frat brothers. I can't
Mhm.
do that. So I actively made a conscious effort to get onto that trip. And then on that trip, I felt so left out. And I realized these people are not actually my friends. And these new people that I met are so much kinder, so much better. And these are my actual friends. And these are the people that I want to move, like, that I want to be. I want to surround myself with people like these, not people like these. It was in that moment that I was like, that can also translate more on social media. And so then fast forward a little bit longer, I still didn't find the confidence to speak because getting in front of a camera is not an easy feat for anyone. It's not easy to share your opinions, especially when they're opinions that, people without a moral compass don't agree with. But it was then when I actually went to a conference and I once again actually had another experience where I just felt like this wasn't the place for me. But at that same moment, there was another conference going on that I ended up going to that was all about influence. And I met some people, and then I was like, wow, these people have influence, but they're talking about certain things that like is like beauty and fashion. I'm like, great, I support that. But I'm like, I feel like I can talk more about my journey as the proud big brother of a trans person. I could talk more about my journey as coming of age and realizing that, as a man, you can be these things and still be masculine and cool and get girls and all these cool things. And so it was in that moment that I started to realize that I wanted to use my platform to be an influencer. And I had a decent following already from the show, but I never posted content because I cared about what other people thought. And so
Yeah,
those two moments really helped me
shape it.
into,
Yeah.
this kind of position I am in today. And at that time, I was studying for the LSAT, or maybe I hadn't been studying for the LSAT yet. I was finishing up my undergraduate degree, which I finished in 3 years. I was thinking, do I want to go to law school? Do I want to be digital marketing?
Yeah.
And I had decided I was going to do all three. I said, I'm going to
Done.
graduate 3 years in
Done.
college. I'm going to go get my master's in digital strategy. I'm going to start creating some content. I'm going to maybe get some clients or get a marketing job throughout this. And then I'm going to go to law school. So I
All
did
right. So
all
you
those.
you have oldest son complex. Is that what I'm hearing? You have oldest son complex.
I
You're
don't like,
like,
I
I'm gonna
like,
do it all. Yeah.
I don't like to commit to things in that way. I like to do everything, but I still will put 100% into everything. Like,
Amazing.
and so that's what I did. And then was getting done with my master's, had started really finding my voice on social media. And I realized, maybe this is the direction. And I had already gotten all the way up to writing my personal statement for law school when I decided being a lawyer can maybe happen later, but right now, and my twin brother and my dad are lawyers, but didn't need to follow that traditional path. The manosphere in my ear might have been thinking to me, no, you need to go be a breadwinner. You need to go
Yeah.
follow a secure path. You need to go get a job like a lawyer or a doctor.
That's
When in fact,
self-sabotage.
you can
That's
create your own path.
self-sabotage. Yeah.
And so the entrepreneurial life began for me as I was being a content creator and a digital marketer at the same time. And now, 5 years later, I'm still doing that, but in new and emerging ways every single year, every single day, as I continue to learn how I want to show up for others. And that is with the goal of helping people. That's my goal. My goal in life is to help others. And everything I do and every day, how I show up is with the goal of helping people. And of course, building my own path.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say at 27, you speak with the wisdom of somebody in their 40s. And you probably know that, and maybe as an oldest son or oldest child, you kind of do grow up a little early, right? You do sort of grow up a little bit faster.
Yep. Just to also, I'm not the oldest child. I'm the second.
No.
Older sister, twin brother who's 1 minute younger, and then Jazz, youngest sister.
What's it like being a brother? I mean, I grew up one of 4 kids as well. What's the dynamic for you? Like, how did that sort of shape your personality as I guess you and I are technically both children then, right? How did that shape some of who you are now?
I mean, yeah, especially as a twin, you're
Oh,
treated as one. So
yes.
for a
Yeah.
while, there's definitely some codependency that I realized, and as I got older, I realized, oh wow, there's some codependency going on. Then having a sister who is in quotes famous and having her on a TV show, that's the protective brother. And
Mm.
overall, my siblings, and then having an older sister who inspires you and who you have to look up to, who just lived an authentic life as well. So I definitely have given and taken from all my siblings in terms of how they inspire me and how they encourage me and how I encourage them. But overall, I like to, consider myself big or little brother to all of them, but also to, I look at my social media as like, I am trying to be people's brother.
Big brother too.
I
I
want
think
people.
I think that's what's really cool about your platform is like you really are like just the signature big brother, the signature ally, but that is the energy that you bring is like I'm the big brother. I'm the brother. I was lucky enough to have a brother as well. And there's a sort of dynamic that like brothers take care of their sisters, but like and this is where the masculine energy can be a positive thing, right?
I read something recently about like feminism and the idea that like the people who are, more supportive of women and women's rights and, maybe not falling down this manosphere usually are a sibling and have like a sister. But people that haven't,
Mm.
not to say that that's like every person who doesn't have a sister, but there is studies about that and how that shapes who you are. But especially to have a trans sister really has shaped my perspectives. And the craziest part about it all is that a lot of people tell me that those experiences are invalid and that no, there's no way that your sister is actually your sister because gender and biology. And I'm like, actually read into it and you'll realize being trans is supported by science. And it's just mind blowing. But when you're the own administration that we're living under says there's only two genders, then people feel so empowered. Just like how when they see a piece of content that says, hey, just respect women and you'll get more women, that makes them feel empowered as well.
Mhm. Mhm. It's funny how that works, and I'm gonna be honest that, I've had a few great podcast conversations, and gentlemen, we really don't want you to be, demeaning towards us. If you want a high quality woman, you gotta come up high quality too, right? Sandra, what's next for you? I mean, I love that you're showing up and you're showing up for others. You are the ultimate big brother, but what's ahead for you? I know you're doing some nonprofit. I know you're doing some digital marketing in that regard, right?
Yeah, so I definitely this year I made a really big shift in my business. My business is now 2 or 3 years old. Before I was working with a little bit more e-commerce clients, and it just didn't fill my cup in the same way, even though they were all value-based brands, technologies or companies that are standing for the right products or proposals and trying to help different communities. It just didn't it felt salesy, and was able to help a lot of different companies and do a lot of really cool things, but I really love helping nonprofits and people that are focused on, yes, bringing in some money from donations, but more so building on social media or building funnels through email marketing so that they could spread these important messages to the communities that need to hear it most. There's so many incredible nonprofits doing that. And so, with my experience as both an influencer and as a digital marketer, I've really been able to help a lot of different nonprofits, build full funnel marketing plans that reach a lot of people. And it's been pretty incredible. One of my nonprofits this year has grown from under 25,000 to over 100,000 followers across platforms and has seen donations, volunteers skyrocket, has had tens of millions of views across social media when before, they make it 100,000 views in a year. So it's been super cool to be able to impact nonprofits. And this kind of layer of work is one that I'm going to continue to do while continuing to kind of rebrand myself on social media to maybe rebrand myself as that big brother, maybe rebrand myself as the woke Floridian. I'm still figuring out exactly how I want to continue showing up. Like you said, I like a lot of things. I like talking a lot about things, and I like to show up in a lot of different ways. So that's what I do, but definitely figuring out how that can be more streamlined so people really know how they can expect me to show up each and every day.
It,
Just
I
hard
think
when there's so
I
many
think
things
that's
that
hard.
to talk
Yeah.
about.
In your experience, and that's the funny part is like your experience is not like a linear thing. And I think whenever I talk to somebody who does their own social media or has a social media platform, there is this belief that somehow they need to have the same message every single day. But I don't think that's actually what people want to see. Do you?
Strategically
Yeah.
strategically,
Yeah.
being niche and having your thing is helpful for growing a larger following and, really getting people in that specific, niche. And then there's morals. And
Right.
for
Right.
me,
Yeah.
I would not be able to show up every single day doing just one thing because I just don't feel like I'd be able to keep that fire going for long
No.
enough.
And it's
And
also not authentic, right? One of
well,
the things that
can
yeah.
be. Like, some people, like, that's their shtick, and they're doing all these other things offline that are related to, their passions and skills, and they know that that's what people wanna see on their social media, so that's what they stick to, and they have that passion, they can come up with topics, and they can do that every single day. I don't think that is always inauthentic. It can be in some cases.
Yeah.
People are inauthentic in how they show up in that way, but for a lot of people that niche themselves out or talk about a specific topic, it just is like, "Oh, that's what people wanna hear, that's what I can do." For me, I've made this decision thus far to focus on a lot of wide range of topics, but I think it all falls under this, pyramid at the top of helping people or standing up for others and spreading unconditional love, positivity, and motivation, having empathy, caring about humanity. That's at the top. And then all these issues fall in line. So there is a niche. It's just not specifically like, hey, I'm just going to talk about trans rights every single day. If I just did that, I might have a larger following, but it would be people only there for trans rights. I know that my audience is comprised of people who love fitness, people who love my body positivity, people who love my trans rights, people who love my family, people who just think I'm attractive. Like, there's buckets
Yeah.
that they're all
Can't blame
in,
them. Yeah.
and that's how it is.
It's really interesting how followings are well, you know this more as a digital marketer. You know how this works. If you ready? Here's the big question. If you were writing the Sandra Jennings story, right? You have to write your own book. You have to write your own biography today. What's the forward?
Just because you have certain privileges or certain rights or you're comfortable doesn't mean you shouldn't care about others who are having their rights taken away or that are being treated unfairly and not given the justice they deserve. And we're seeing today in society that there are tons of communities that are just totally being attacked and being scapegoated. And we're pointing down at those people, the most marginalized, instead of pointing up at the people in power who may or may not be pedophiles, who are hoarding wealth, who are saying one thing but doing another thing, but then blaming it on the immigrants are taking our job. The
Mhm.
trans people are a reason why healthcare is the problem. And and anyone with a moral compass should be able to hear that and say, that's just why am I pointing at them instead of up there? But like we said, some people believe that trans people are fake and they should be eradicated from society. And some people think that immigrants are the worst thing to happen to America, even though we're all technically on stolen land, you know?
Yeah. Fair
So
enough. Fair enough.
you can't
Yeah.
change their minds, but for the
Yeah.
people who, do feel like they care about other people, especially if you identify like me,
I
then they
yes.
need you in the fight.
I couldn't like I love how you did that. Like this is literally about critical thinking, right? Like this may be a lesson in critical thinking for a lot of people that it's not about what people tell you. It's not about, what you're seeing on social media, what you're seeing on the news, whatever you subscribe to, whatever community you think you're part of. It's about the cube, right? Like your experience or how you identify does not negate how someone else identifies or how someone else feels about a situation. And it is true because you're in the digital space, a lot of this is like a magician's trick, right? If I continue to tell you to look this way, keep looking this way, keep looking over here, don't look down here, don't look up here, people are easily confused and thought that if somebody is different than them, that somehow is a conflict to who they are as a person. You mentioned that in some of the information or the comments you get is that people are not okay with you not being just like them. And I think this is us as humanity, as evolution, and saying it's okay to be trans and for me not to be trans. It's okay for me to be Christian or agnostic, right? It's okay to have a different identification because it doesn't negate who you are. And I think that's the confusion, the conflict for a lot of people is that they think that if something is different than who they are, it must put into question who they are. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. A lot of people do struggle with that.
Yeah.
They believe that if someone gets something, then it takes from me. And that's how, you know, if you look at the dichotomy of society, like people at the top, if we lose this, if more one woman come into power, more this, then
Mhm.
we're gonna lose something. And it's
Yes.
like, well, maybe you shouldn't have had it in the first place, or why can't both coexist?
That's right. And I think that's our message. I think that's our conversation is it's not mutually exclusive, right? Like it doesn't mean that one thing has to exist and the other thing can exist. They all can exist. And Sanders, I don't know how you're 27 because I feel like you're really like 57. You've got this like wise like soul of yours and your understanding. But thank you so much for being with us today. Thanks for being the big brother. Thanks for being the ally. And thanks for telling your story because I think your family did a really brave thing in not only just identifying that they had a daughter that needed assistance, but then they also were willing to open it up and give some of us an experience so that we can learn, or hopefully that we all learn that it has nothing to do with us, that and everybody else's experience can be specific to them, and we can all love and we can all appreciate and respect because respect is really where love lives.
100%. I can agree with that. Respect is where love lives.
Thanks, Sanders. Thanks for being on the show today. If you love this show, if you have somebody who you know could really benefit from hearing this or feel supported, definitely share and follow. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much.